Is misha Manchán Magan, agus is cúis broad dom ef mar fart de féile Pádraig. So, for the last year, I've been roaming the coastline of Donegal, Mayo, and Galway, seeking out sea terms and coastal words from fishermen and folklorists for a project called Sea Tamagotchi as part of Galway 2020. Now, I asked the fishermen for words that brought the sea and the shoreline alive for them, and I've been sharing these words on Twitter, on Instagram, and on my website, mancon.com. But some of the recordings I made into little films with music by Claire Sands and Bria Moglin, and those are what I want to share with you here. Tus nóid le rácheann ó Pat Murphy ó Leathanis an Bhuited I Cunta Muyo.
Tuam.
All right, tuam.
Tuam.
And it's the only time it's used for the noise of the sea?
It is, yeah. Tuam.
As opposed to glór, no turren, no...
Turn. Yeah, well, turn then is something that could be made physically or could be man-made, or, you know, you could make noise. Noise is always something that's associated, I suppose, with man's behaviour of making noise. Because nature, I suppose, makes natural sounds, creating natural sounds if you listen to it. Sound created by nature is always referred to as tuam. Tuama. Agus an árig isteach agus na bhíonn sí búlú isteach na on talaí. Sin tuam. Sin an áit bháin an lugáine me tá seo dú húma.
All right, dú húma, yeah.
Dú tuama.
So an dove tuama?
No. Dúiche? No, dúcha.
Oh, right, the place of...
The place, the sandbanks,
the
the sand dunes.
Oh, dúiche. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Dúiche tá.
Exactly, yeah.
Dúiche.
The dia getting carried.
Sin é. Well, sin dúiche tuama agus an tuaman sound. The sound of the sea against the sand dunes.
How can we ever get to grips with the myriad place names along the coastline? And where do they all come from? I asked John Twin of Achill where he got his great store.
Oh, well, I got those from, they were common to my grandfather and everybody who was on the hills. See, my grandfather was a shepherd and we kept sheep on the hills and then cattle as well. So wherever the cattle were, they were in certain places. So that's why all these place names, there's no English name for them. There's every little lug on it in Orland, the place names are there.
I noticed a place name which I thought had the word Mealmoor in it. Mealmoor means a whale, and John Twin agreed.
Tá óithia an sin ar a doctor óithín atán, óithín bhíl mhór.
An Mealmoor then?
Mealmoor se agus an fá doctor sin nó a bhín se gara mar atá inis. Bhín se cosúil tagan an airg isteach agus an sin. Sús cosúil Mealmoor séidiú sin é.
He tells me the name Ochín Bhíl Mhór, the little cove of the whale, comes from a hole in the rock where water spurts out, just like a whale's blowhole. So if you have like a cove called the Cove of the Whale,
Yeah.
people will just think a dead whale went into it or something, but to know that it's actually to do
no, it's
with
absolutely, you wouldn't know except it's actually to do, you won't see it on a calm day, but when it's rough like that, you'll see this.
the spurt of the water
Yeah,
up and
that's
out,
it,
like from a whale's back.
Yeah,
or lungs.
exactly, yes, that's it.
Glow. It sounds very glow again. Warige he'll have aged got a turn tally, no turn dini. Warige got a dini gobri mo warige no turn carney no. He'll have got motorway beyond. Now means glow more warige samih.
So you're saying glow can be used for the sound of the sea when it sounds like a sound from the earth, from human.
You're comparing it with human sounds, or sounds made by humans at work, or creating sound or making noise. Humans make noise, and the sounds they create. So you'd imagine that the sea was mimicking this in anger, awaiting the change in weather.
And so that glow, that sound, that noise coming from the sea could be a symbol of changing weather.
That's right, it was a warning for fishermen.
It's amazing how a single word can give insight into so much. A way of life, a mindset, a fishing practice, or a weather system, or navigational method, or even just the emotional aspect of living along the coastline. Like the loss of even one of these words wipes out something precious, an insight or hard-won knowledge that's then gone forever. Like take these two words for farige fianna, for wild seas, from John Vavajako Canila in Lettermallen and from Mihal Shoiga Inishmord.
Barbon agari nieskud. Kalamogus muje libe nos one sha. Ogus in shina tashi fian ta barbon agari nieskud. Ta barbon agari on nieskud.
Whoa! And so in Vino Faishin as Berna.
Well, when it's we say Tanarganus Quina Achanshin. If it's wild and white caps on the sea, we would say Tabar Bon Ergari in the Escuda. That's white wave on the fisherman's garden.
Right, that's lovely.
Well, the things are coming back to me.
Buggawarga, agus curry mogawarga. A big swell in the sea, Buggawarga, we call that. Bugga, or she buggas was.
Is she a bugger?
Yeah, well, bugger sounds like something shade.
I know. Ach, she a bugger, it's like a glue shot.
Yeah, glue shot, yeah.
Glue shot, like bugger-nish, she a bugger woman, it's moving away from
Bugger, yeah, bugger mogawarga.
Right.
Yeah. Agus curry mogawarga, depends what it is.
And curry is just movement, I suppose.
Movement as well, it's definitely the same thing.
But they'd all roughly be, sort of a churned, not a calm sea.
Oh yeah, none to be calm.
I know.
Fargi Hune is the only camp sea.
Is that right? Yeah.
Cunidas, no Fargi Hune,
What's Cunidas?
Same thing as Fargi Hune.
It's like Cune Cam.
Yeah, Cunidas. Vishan Cunidas. No Vishan Hallam.
Oh yeah.
Hallam Laddie, they say here, I don't know where lad. A really camp day, we'd say Tashan Hallam Laddie.
Ah, brilliant.
But I don't know where the word laddie
I know. It's like boyo or something. It's okay.
Something must be something like that or something.
Chawam ledi. Bhí sin na chawam ledi. Chawam ledi, mae di hynny. Chawam cen, no fi'n diara, chwa mai cen mi fo cwn siag o bona, fi'n arig mi le pot. Chwa mi le pot.
So for a very smooth sea, how would you say it goes?
It's level as a plate, esti chwa gira cha mae di hynny. It was this...
And it's a lag and ground to go co level le pot.
Chwa level to la pot, yeah. It's level as a plate, dohi. Esti chwa na chwa wach.
I know. And the other was this
Chawam ledi.
And laddie is just, it's a thing of affection, isn't it?
It's a martian, Gadira. Chawam cen.
Calm boy also.
Sin enisha, Gadira.
And laddie.
Sure, chawam ledi.
It's not often it is in the calm laddie.
No, they're eating it.
Bruff, B-R-U-T-H, but here you say bruff.
Huh.
It's like S-R-U-T-H.
Sruff.
Shruff.
Narira, sruff.
Oh, aye, shruff. Shruffle, the shruffle. S-R-U-T-H-A-L-L.
Sin awni negan.
Yeah, but she had a wheel.
Oh, go on.
Over the shruffle.
Sruffle, great.
The shruffle.
Oh, yeah.
Shruff. Agus shin bruff. B-R-U-T-H. Nupsurge.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Surge.
Ha.
Bruff.
Na couple ball. Well, no, ní ha. Ach, dír an áit got dagan an town.
Áit will tanny on, will it?
Sure.
You get the agus tú harig agus tá áit an sin carrig a bruffa mór. Carrig a bruffa mór.
Of the big swell or
of the big
that's
surge.
Surge, yeah.
Yeah, carrig a bruffa mór.
These words were created by a people who depended for their survival on the natural resources of their surroundings. So they have a profundity, an intensity to them that is rare now. Like I collected most of these words in just a few spots in Donegal, in Mayo and in Galway, but in truth, every square inch of our coastline has an equally rich word lore connected to it.
Crow in the Bellicky. We have with the chart, agus the crow in the Bellicky. That is the white wash at the bottom of the boat.
Crave?
The crow.
As in what's the
As
crowd?
you say knav.
Ah, yeah.
Knav on the bell.
So it's like a dog with a
Yeah, you can just see the whites in their mouths. Koi here is a wind, especially a favourable wind. Now, down where you're going, there's a place called Tubernacora, the well of the fair wind. And what they did there was, when the men were at the sea and the wind dropped and the women were getting a wee bit worried, they'd go to the well, it's just above the pier in down Killen. And down there, and what they did, they started to bail the water out of the well. And this was to, I think it's in keeping with the science behind it, because you're lowering the pressure ashore, you know, and the wind will blow in.
To protect their fishermen out on the sea?
No, to give them a fair wind home.
Yeah.
The name of the well in Rinlakillen near Tillin was said to have been drained by wind to conjure up a fair wind home for local seamen.
Weem they call here, that's the wave. The Spanish used to call Coolum Head the gates of hell. They never saw any place on the west of Ireland as rough and with all these big breakers. And we have names for all the breakers. We have like Muimataur and Bolig. We have Mulan Sorbis, Muimaward, Muim Lachgarag, Mokane, and Muim Yiram. There used to be some of the breakers named after the people. We would have the Tanny Moor, we would have the Dawsucht, we would have lots of names on them, but the only problem is we are not using these names anymore, and we are, well, I am nearly the oldest now that's surviving of the old fishermen around here, and I never thought, I didn't spoke about these way for the last 30 years, you could say, and I'm losing some of it. I'm losing some of it. When we used to go out fishing, we used to go to the rocks, Teagle Rock, and maybe 10 boats in there, and everybody will have his own fire, and everybody would put down tea on the saucepan, and the saucepan of fish to eat, and new potatoes, so on. And then when you be young, you'll be listening to these, talking about these memes or these waves, and that's how you will learn. You have to learn from the old generation.
High and dry on a muilo. Muilo shin carrig, Hagens, well, ordently talking you go bar na farrig, you can to, pinch fin ishke, you can to.
Oh yeah, so it's
Ordently,
I know.
Ordently, pinch, was ken na farrig, you know.
Sha.
Muilo.
Muelon.
Muil John Misha. Muil John Shifsha.
Oh yeah,
Muil, Tato Muil.
Oh, need there for us to go to Muel? No,
Muil.
Oh yeah, Muel. So Muel or Muelon?
Muilon, yeah.
It's a rock that's mostly submerged by the sea.
Yes,
Right.
and then you have to know what it is. You could, with the boat, you see, or you're up on top of it. High and dry on a muilon. That's an old expression.
It's like John Vabajak says there, we have to learn from the old generation. The wise men, mostly men at least, that I talked to were all keen to share their knowledge with me. Some of them said that they hadn't thought about these words for 40 or 50 years. But who knows, we might actually need the insights that they have into our coastline sometime soon. This ocean has always sustained us, and it can again.
Sin Ruchawach. There is 10 more on because Snaven and Arik, when there's a big tide, there's a lot of, if there's a lot of seaweed floating about, we'll say a bit of wind comes or a gale, it blows it in on the rocks, and we call it on the shore, and we call that Ruchawach. And they used it for fertilizer.
So it's just the rotten seaweed that's thrown up in winter?
That's it, good deal. Ruchawach. Agus dyn ni'n family diarach frysin leis. agus gná amman isteach sin rucáhach agus sin mat a cáileach isteach sin femin dearag agus idir sin.
So when kelp is rotting in Farry,
Femin dearag, yeah.
Red Sea.
Yeah, go ddíireach, yeah. Agus an choiste tair a bhemin dearag ceanna swat agus idir op sin. Tá sé sin an bhuachmór fada.
An ró sin an rud. Sin nílas agam cén litróir tá sin. Agus áit bhín a gobú amach mar sin.
Right. So raw is this piece sticking out, a bit of rock sticking out.
It's the kind of it wouldn't be a rock. It'd be land as well, you know.
All right.
It'd be like Roan or Goppel, where a green area. It's over there on Minnon Cliffs, where horses would graze, you know.
Yeah.
Roan or Goppel. Agus tá áit muon sin Roan or Corach. Ní hiigim céir das Corach an. Roan or Corach.
Yeah.
Agus ró sin an rud áit. I gobbo amach.
Yeah, no.
Gobbo, you know.
Take them. Yeah, raw.
Beidir go níos móna tá gob is cúna, you know, is cúna.
Sure.
Ró, yeah.
Starony, yeah, they're large, jagged rocks. They can be seen either sticking out of the side of a rock or under the ocean, and they're large stacks of very sharp rocks that come up, and it's known as a stir, or stir on the more than one, you know.
That's interesting because in the Isle of Skye, you know, there's this Stir, the Isle of Stir, the Rock of Stir, this peaking stone, and Stir, it's actually a Viking word for a rock peak.
A rock.
Peak, I don't know his name.
But it doesn't surprise me, you know. It doesn't surprise me. When you look, we've been travelling amongst these islands for a long time. There are pottery found in the Neolithic burial site on Inisheer that was from Scotland, or akin to the Scottish one, the design-wise and everything. So you're looking at the Neolithic.
It was the stories about the otherworldly aspect of the sea that most impacted me. Like, this great force of nature is so full of mystery and the unknown, as is clear from the story that Eamon O'Curreen told me about what happened to his grandfather.
This is a story that happened about 120 years ago, when Owen's grandfather was young.
Sin bhí mu hafuil sin ar an ná. Ba much bud céad agus tá bíon hena céad sé bhí na. Bhí si giscret sí máin vid. Fascú landráflana.
Bhí ar giscret cadé?
Is a giscret trasc.
Sure.
Agus bhí si tógal an an trasc.
They were out catching a rake of cod off Malin Head.
Dorigi láha. Agus bhí seachtar acu giscret sa bháid. Agus sin dúrú bhí gur ón blád lachtaí gisc. Agus bhí narigi a géirí ard.
There were 7 of them in a boat, laden down with cod, when the sea suddenly turned nasty and they turned back towards Malin Head.
Na dhéarhil ní bhig. Agus dúirt an tamhaí, sinna bheidir bhí scípre a bháid. Dúirt sé go mardaí go don níos go chathmá a bháid.
But they worried they mightn't make it before the storm came. The skipper ordered them to start throwing the fish overboard.
Agus chosta si a chaú haías. Gus nu cóhhaid gíhí lofan a taran se roiid bháil na bige.
And there was a fair wind pushing them home, but they still worried.
Ach, fer a bhí was get cholva gan tosaí. Dog se má hernáidir bralí. Gus chana se ban, agus í grim is sí snáí grimmeí ar chá se haháid, if she taran se bháid na dé.
But then the man at the front of the boat looked out and he saw a woman in the water, she was swimming, holding the bow of the boat and pulling it forward through the waves so that it arose above the water.
Gus a sin déirín bhád am rong fara fistí. Gus dí stad a bhain ag sí slán saoite, dí nuid bháil na bagí.
And she kept on pulling until they got safely home.
Agus hen siún scéal sin agus sin critse ag an nila gnne, ce bí chud a dadí dá na lehhail, a tá mar an rudí hálíos ar an aige, nach fidir víniu.
Now this was common knowledge back then, Owen tells me, for there are many things that happen at sea that can't be explained. Uignas na trá, cua an chladig, the loneliness of the strand.
War is ans siúl an chladach non tráin a vestú siúlan latéin. Dus me sin gomininic.
Cos ar áit imimeach bíon an dáhéal.
Sin é bíon an dáhíal an dáhí bhaid héalaí an síl segus a sílala nuair a túir is a gladach na gháir. Tá áige eisteach mar bhúil. Tá áige clúdach suas, chuile thuirt a há dálaíon. Tá fis i gháige nar chola ma dírío, agus a mí seanna chol ma díra. Fis fáige. If you would ever walk on the shore alone, whether the tide is in or out, whether it's late or early, there's always a sense of loneliness there, as if you're not alone, although you're there on your own, but there was something spiritual telling you that you're not there alone. And as children we were always told not to be on the shore on your own. Whether that was late or early. That's why that the older people always looked out for you if you were in the shore. They would always keep an eye out. Didn't matter where the tide was, whether it was in close or out far. They were always told, don't be on the shore on your own.
Owen O'Correen gives me 3 superstitions of local fishermen in Teelan.
Ní mo bádúr, ní chartí bád úr a chuige chun farige den chidúir ar a níine.
A new boat should never be put to sea on a Friday for the first time.
Agus nuair bh iascurí a giscrit a míthe ar a gimhór. Na mrá go mrá bhí sa bhála na né. Ní hiú na mrá, ní hiú chut an grúach. No you never should
A woman shouldn't brush or wash her hair until her husband is back safely from the ocean.
We shall again. Yes, good. You're yes, good. A mahasa chach in the he.
And fresh fish should never be taken out of a house after nightfall.
Agus nilla fosta nilla charchi angach farige dan chidúil no a sé dos hat chesur. Who don't you go in jochar?
One more. The first time you put a new net into the water, or even an old net at the beginning of the season, you had to swallow back a sip of poaching. The Moran Pádraig is a hard thing to describe. It's somewhere between a prayer and a pishrogue, or a mantra, or really a collection of sounds that exert an influence on the world around them.
It's a special prayer that the fishermen used. They used to, I think, wrap it up with a little bit of plastic, and they'd bring it with them when they were fishing. But they'd recite the prayer, and if you went astray in the words of the prayer, because you'd have to start again at the beginning and say it again without fault. But the language of the prayer itself, it must be the old Irish, because even modern fluent Irish speakers, they wouldn't understand all of
The original.
the original. Yeah.
But the fact that you had to say it correctly meant that it was not just the meaning, that it was like the words themselves. Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, Pádraig? Yeah.
Without a break.
You had to say it without a break, or without making a mistake. And if you did, you'd have to start again.
Right.
Yeah, they say that it wasn't going to be a success what you were praying for.
Martin Pádraig Virulche, Glena Gleefer, San Farche Fele, Sainin Sigilsha, Chiga Burbin Glas, Kahuna Grene, Gregi Gille, Chiga Such, Sluchiene, Mrs. Finnis, Adam Glas, Banner, Jes nach Maranduin, Ruin Cregi, in the Sigi Grey Harlon, or Roy Riva Hanning, Banach Lagachanam of Vigarpania, Spanach Lagachniach, the Ramarniege, Sniakas Jevnis Naji, for Plashka Banawinich and Carpnagarp. Sean Hootje Fele, King Artuch, Multifam Fui, Farche Fele, she shown away Creek and the Croig and the Swagam Shenanisha, Gainiac Brach, na Kelchery, K. Jeremy Gainiac Brach, one on the Haitian, Buff Wuskelto, a Jerlashagas Yegan, K. Jeremy Waring Dulge Huge, New Wildo, and Hall Ashkias was K. Jeremy Waring Galgan, Liga, Chakle Ashkias, Fetch a Bonnie, K. Jeremy Waring Galler thing in Alfarika, or just Lan Sawal, she can battling in Arachish. Ke Jeremy Waring brava lovjach, but what it came Shanix, Tanya Wolfe, Ke Jeremy Waring Van and Yevon, but she's long back to 6 June seed, or in Warrich in real to Fog of Shananish, Gainiac Brach, Snakelchri, Ke Jeremy Waring, and was the law, near real doeftions for flies Jella Folika, will Tadigum the Hastal, near by Bissagor, Mishaporik Banner, Yaspuk Strin Realta, Hanika Haging, go Memo Milton, go Waring Father Fishnach. Dus klaar kleven douwen in een jacht en jacht sigilsha nach bleacher maclean sa boss kan lead year na with shingichi jarnanum sarkar mena kirna.
Wow. Mar sin é mo chuid se go fáil, ba bhail an buchas a go bháil le Brian Maglin agus Claire Sands, a chum ceol who recorded and created music specifically for each word, as well as recording the fuin na farige, the sounds of the sea. Thanks also go Gaile Fihe Fihe agus go Féile Pádraig. And the coastal images were all filmed by Miles O'Reilly and Lauren Varian, who also edited this film. Súlagam go bhain sibh tainmh agus taidimh as na focail. There are scores more of these words on Manchán.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter at Manchán Magan. Banachtaí Féile Pádraig oribh go léir.